We all know cardio is important, but there's different methods to develop different energy systems. So meaning like different conditioning systems. I'm going to take you through 7 different methods that we use here at Vigor Ground that I implement into my programs. And again, they're very different. They develop different abilities, but it's things that you should be doing. All right, so check them out. All right, so the cardiac output method. Now look, you probably have done this. This is your zone 2 that everybody does, but here's a different way to do it, okay? So zone 2, you kind of want to be in that 130, 150 beats per minute range where I still should be able to talk to you. Maybe not the way I am right now, but let's take airdyne bike. Now, to not keep it boring, what I like to do is not only change different implements so we have different movements, right? Because one, it won't be boring and we're getting different movement patterns in, right? So let's say I'm riding at a speed where it's not crazy hard. I'm 130, 150 beats a minute or so. And I'm gonna be on a bike for 5, 8, 10 minutes. You recall, let's say we wanna do a total somewhere between 30 and 60 minutes in total. So let's say this was my 10 minutes on the bike. I'd come off the bike and I'd go to my next implement, different movement pattern. So in this case, love the Jacob's ladder. So now we're gonna do a crawl position. Same thing. Ideally, I have a heart rate monitor on. I start, bam, and now I'm doing my next 5, 8, 10 minutes on this next implement. Again, a tempo where I'm gonna keep 130, 150 beats a minute. So now, you guys are not gonna get bored while I'm doing this, right? I did my 10 minutes. I'm gonna go straight to the next thing. In this case, we might run. Again, finding a tempo that's gonna be kind of like an in-between tempo. But I can check my heart rate, 130, 150 beats a minute. I'd be here. Let's say we're doing everything for 8 minutes in this case. Third implement, 24 minutes. Now I'm gonna go to the ski erg. Again, different pattern. You can switch it up every 5 minutes. Again, there's no rule. It's more about just keeping that heart rate steady for that period of time. Now, what I will usually do is, besides the implements, start doing body weight movements. Now, it could be everything from jumping jacks to moving warm-ups, just at lower intensities, to medicine ball circuits. Again, we just want to have a heart rate monitor to keep us at that 130, 150 beats a minute. Usual rule for me is that, like, you know, somebody's older in their 40s, we might be more on that lower side, 130, 135, 140. Somebody's in their 20s, I'm gonna say push it more to the higher side. But again, we're gonna individualize. But this way, if I have a 45-minute cardio workout, the cardiac output method, zone 2, I can do 6, 7, 8 different things for 5 to 8 minutes and keep moving around, right? And it's, one, not boring, but notice even with just these things, the different movement patterns, right? We're on the bike, especially with the airdyne, moving those arms this way, right? We're doing Jacob's ladder, feet and hands moving. We're running, we're doing a ski erg. And ideally, I'm gonna add some rotational stuff, metabolic wall throws, not at high intensities. And it's gonna be much more, I would say, engaging while I keep my heart rate up, while I move my body in different directions. All right, so this is called high intensity continuous training. I learned this from my friend Joel Jameson, who I would say learned it from Val Nesetkin, who's one of the smartest guys. Again, old Russian literature. But most, I would say, if you're doing high resistance cardio, usually it's short intervals. Here you're doing both. So it's high resistance and high volume. And there's 2 different implements that I love basically to use for this that we have in the gym. One is a spin bike that we can turn the resistance up on, and one is gonna be step ups. There's other things too, like sleds up a hill, step up lunges up a hill, lunges up a hill, but again, not as convenient, and most people can't do it. But this can be done in most gyms. Now check this out. So what you're doing is you're training the basically aerobic capacity of the fast twitch muscle fibers. So what I'm gonna do here, first of all, it's already up. This is perfect. Right, so the resistance on this is crazy high right now. You can actually see I'm trying to move it, which is perfect. I'm gonna have to push really hard and activate those high threshold motor units for every rep that I push, but my cadence is gonna be about 20 to 30 reps per minute, which means about 1 every 4 seconds. Okay, so it's gonna look like this. So I'm gonna push hard. 1, 2, actually we gotta crank it up a little bit more. All right, let's crank it up a little bit more. Oh, perfect. 1, 2, 3, 2. Right, so this is hard to push, but I'm only doing it every 3 to 4 seconds. Right, and the thing is, I would find that resistance. So if you think 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I would actually probably turn it up, maybe even a little bit more, right? So I have to do maximum effort pushing this down, pushing this down, pushing this down again. And I'm doing that every 3 to 4 seconds for 20 to 30 reps per minute. These sets are gonna be 10 to 20 minutes long, and you do 1 to 2 sets. So for example, you might start with 1 set of 10 minutes. I mean, you could start with even less, right? You could start with 6, 8 if you're beginnerish and split that up. But usually I'm going for 1 to 2 sets, 10 to 20 minutes long, right? So it'd be anywhere from 10 to 40 minutes on a training. If you're not used to it, this will be challenging, right? And again, getting a use for something like this, even to find your resistance, is important. Now another one, and usually I would wear a weight vest for this. Again, there's different, I would say, for somebody that's a beginner, strength levels are not high, they could just go with body weight. But it's step ups. Now the key here is that I'm gonna do an explosive step up, like maximum intent, speed. Again, sometimes I'm gonna weight myself up with weight vests, with chains, with things like that. And then I'm gonna have a 4-second cadence on the step up. So I'll show you guys how that looks like, right? Right now I don't have a vest. I might actually even do a step up jump, right? So it'll look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, and you can kind of see my cadence here. I'm still being very explosive with the intent on every single rep. And I would do this for 10 minutes. Right, so now we're going high intensity, high volume, right? But because of the cadence, we're able to do this. That's called high intensity continuous training. Again, very, very beneficial for people in general, but especially if you do anything athletic. All right, so this is threshold training. Now check this out. Before I even start pedaling on a bike, it's more about the concept of it. Number one, if you really want to find your anaerobic threshold, you'd have to go into a lab. It's not that expensive to find out where it is, right? We're actually adding that to our gym with DexaFit. But if not, this is a good way to determine it. So for example, you would have to wear a heart rate monitor. Very, very important. Remember, I love training Morpheus, right? So trainingwithmorpheus.com, which is my favorite HRV and cardio kind of software. But I would do a Cooper's test for a person, okay? So for 12 minutes, you could be on a bike. On a runner or just run. But for most people, like doing a bike is a good, I would say, way to do this. So what we do is heart rate monitor on. I'm gonna start the timer. For 12 minutes, you're pushing, right? And getting as far as you can. So get as much distance on that bike as possible. You're challenging yourself. You're pushing yourself. Again, I'm not gonna bore you guys for 12 minutes, but this should be a big effort, right? At the end of those 12 minutes, what's gonna happen? You're gonna have an average heart rate throughout those 12 minutes. We're gonna get a distance. We're gonna get your heart rate recovered. Now, this is an estimate, but it's a decent estimate. You're gonna get the average heart rate for those 12 minutes is your anaerobic threshold. And our training for anaerobic threshold is gonna be plus minus 5 beats per minute. Meaning, so let's say my average heart rate was 175 beats per minute, okay? Or 170. That means my threshold training is gonna be between 165 and 175, right? Plus minus 5. And I would do two, basically anywhere from 3 to 10 minute rounds for 2 to 5 sets. Now, I could go back on a bike. I could be like, okay, well, I'm gonna stay between 165, 175 beats per minute on the bike. But you can do anything. So a fighter might be doing shadow boxing drills or boxing drills, right? So they got their heart rate monitor on, right? And they're just moving. And by the way, like, you need to have decent intensity, right? If I wanna stay in those ranges. If I'm a basketball player, I may be using basketball drills, right? Where, boom, I'm gonna go to the cone, cross over, step back, shot, bam, go pick it back up, right? So I'm moving. I wanna stay, because I can work on a skill while being in that threshold zone. And again, this is gonna be anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes, 2 to 5 sets. So that will be 1 rep is 3 to 10 minutes, 2 to 5 sets. Again, we individualize this based on what the person's goals are, fitness level, and so on and so forth. But it can be a lot of different things, okay? But that's a great way. So next time around, figure out your anaerobic threshold, do the Cooper's test, running, you use the bike, you can use a bunch of different things, challenge yourself for those 12 minutes, and your average heart rate, plus minus 5 beats per minute, is your threshold. Okay, so that's an excellent one to build your kind of cardio engine, improve your VO2 max. This is one of my favorite ones called explosive repeats. So explosive repeats, we're training, again, those fast twitch muscle fibers to be able to, I would say, recover faster so we can do it again. Now, these tend to be somewhere around 6, 8 to 15 seconds long. And usually what we'll do is we'll start with a shorter work period, longer rest period, and then we'll start throughout the weeks, extending the work period and bringing down the rest period. Usually, again, depending on the fitness level of somebody. But I'll give you an example. Like, so week 1 might be, we're gonna work for 8 seconds and have a 60-second break, right? Week 2 may then be 10 seconds with a 50-second break. Week 3 might be 12 seconds with a 45-second break. You can kind of see what we're doing here, right? We might stay 2 weeks at, again, one of those intervals, right? Now, I'm gonna use 2 exercises. We want explosive exercises: squat jumps, lunge jumps, plyo push-ups, kettlebell swings, explosive slams, right? There's a lot of different things we can do, lateral slides. So I'll probably do 3 different things here just to give you an example, because what you're usually gonna do is do somewhere between 6 to 10 reps, right? And that would be a cluster. So think about that. I'm gonna do 8 seconds of work, 60 seconds of rest, 10 times, and then I would rest 8 to 10 minutes and then do it again, right? That'll be a series. Okay, so I'm gonna give you an example of 3 exercises. I'm gonna just go for 8 seconds, squat jumps. I'm gonna rest. I'm probably not gonna rest 60 seconds, not to bore you, maybe 30. Then I'm gonna go do plyo push-ups, and then I'm gonna rest, and I'm gonna do lateral slides. So that might be my 3 exercises. Okay, so let's start with an example. This has to be maximal though. This is the key. It's short. We wanna do maximal explosive reps on this. All right, so again, I'll start with squat jumps on it. Let's go 3, 2, 1. All right, so because it's short, but because we're going all out, your heart rate is gonna get up there. But now I would recover in week 1 for 60 seconds, okay? Again, I'll chat a little bit. We're not gonna go to full 60. Now I'm gonna go plyometric push-ups. There are a lot of options. What are things you can do fast, you can do explosively? These are the types of exercise we'd use here. Again, if you're an MMA fighter, you might choose different exercises than if you're a football player, than if you're a basketball player, right? But let's say our 60 seconds is up. So, by explosive push-ups, leaving the ground. Again, if you can't do that, you'd have another option. It might be wall throws, staying close with the med ball against the wall. Right, same thing, we can go 60-second break, and then we're gonna go lateral slides. I put a little bit of my, basketball past in here, right? But again, for 8 seconds, we can really push this. Pretend that a minute is up. 3, 2, 1. And break. Woo. So that was just 3 rounds, okay? So let's say that we would go 3 times through, 9 total, take a long break, right? Somewhere between 6 and 10 minutes, and then do it again. That is explosive repeats, so we're training our body, again, to get better at producing force, recovering, then we know to do it over and over and over again. All right, check this out. September 2023, went cold turkey drinking energy drinks. And that was my thing for 17 years to get energy. I'm a coach, I'm a gym owner, I'm a business owner. I'm just working a lot. So here's the deal, I need energy, I need focus. And a friend of mine said, hey, look, check out Ketone IQ. I was like, come on, man, like, listen, I'm drinking coffee, I'm good. So he sent me some. I tried it, and man, 20, 30 minutes later, I'm zoned in, I'm focused, I'm on point. And here's the thing, this is no sugar, no caffeine, no jitters, no crashes. So it became my new fuel source, right? And it's clean. And by the way, now they got these new peach flavors, which are money. So I take, 1 to 2 of these a day, whether before I'm working to get zoned in focus or before I start coaching or training. And man, this is the thing. So if you want to get a discount, go to ketone.com/Luka. Not only will you get a discount, you're also going to get 6 of these babies for free. I'm telling you, it's going to become your new fuel source. I love it. Check it out. Back to it. So this method is called high resistance intervals. And just like it sounds, we want to use high resistance to a maximum effort to activate the high threshold motor units, so the fast twitch muscle fibers. Right now, I can't show you guys. I love probably my number one, I would say, option for this is hill sprints with a nice incline. Because again, these are going to be somewhere between 10 and 12 seconds long, maximum effort. And we do want to stay under the anaerobic threshold, right? So we want to recover fully, and we don't want to go past whatever your anaerobic threshold is. For me, it's going to be somewhere in 100, 175 beats per minute or so, right? I would say great options for in gym are things like a sled, right? Or I'm going to do a push sled. You can do a pull sled. And also I'll show you guys like high resistance. So cranking up the resistance on the bike and 10 to 12 seconds on that. So I'll show you both. Again, I'm going to push this for 10 to 12 seconds. The key is, again, maximum. I'd probably go heavier than I am right now, but this is going to slow me down. And it's great because I don't need to reach massive speeds to activate those high threshold motor units, right? So that's why high resistance intervals, HRIs, are a great fit for developing, again, that repeatability of the fast twitch muscle fibers. Okay, so ready? And let's go. Woo. Right, so that right there, 10 seconds, I would recover. And initially, I'd have a heart rate monitor. I want to get back to about 130 beats per minute or below before I would repeat. Right, and I'd go anywhere from 12, 20 rounds per session on this. But again, we start with less, we build up to more, and I start cutting my rest breaks as I get fitter. Now, second option here is we could do high resistant intervals on a bike, but you have to crank up the intensity. So I can't do this at regular intensities. I'd have to crank it up. So I have to really put an effort, again, activating those high threshold motor units. And you guys saw earlier, me going and cranking up the resistance. I'm bringing it down a little bit, but I'm gonna go for 10 seconds and just go crazy with the intensity. All right, 3, 2, 1. So let's pretend that was 10, right here. Woo. So I'd crank it up. Again, work really hard, recover, repeat. But for me, sleds on that, I would say uphill sprints, number one option. Sleds will be number 2. High resistance intervals, HRIs. All right, so these are aerobic plyometrics. And by the way, this might not be a beginner strategy for, I'd say, cardio work, but for athletes, this is a big one, an important one. Most of the time, I look just like high resistance intervals. Here, we're using the stretch shortening cycle to build adaptations. But again, this is working more so on the endurance versus like the maximal intensity of a plyometric, right? And again, we tend to, like in the early off season, or sorry, let's say not in the early off season, but after the break, start building in these extensive plyometrics. And again, this is something I learned from Joel Jamieson, and would go and do, for instance, anywhere from 6 to 10 different jumps, reactive jumps. This is one way to do it. You can do plyometric push-ups for the upper body. You can do med ball reactive throws. There's a bunch of different things you can do, but I'm gonna show you with the hurdles. I'm gonna go through the jumps, right? Be reactive in these jumps. I'm gonna take about a 10 to 30 second break. I'm just gonna walk back and I'm gonna do it again. And I would do that for 5 to 10 minutes, non-stop. Take a longer break, like a 5, 6, 7 minute break. And I would do that for 1 to 3 sets, right? So 1 to 3, 5 to 10 minute sets. So it'll look like this, okay? I'm gonna go over the hurdles. Right, and then 10 to 15 seconds, as long as 30 seconds at the beginning. Again, comes down to your fitness level, and then I'm going again. And I would continue this for, again, if I started off probably for 5 minutes, that would be 1 set. So just want to demo how this would look like as I would keep repeating it. Okay, so again, this is something that, especially if you're an athlete, team sport athlete, a lot of starting, stopping, it comes into play, and it's a smart integration into your cardio methods. All right, so this is the cardiac power method. I saved it for last because it kind of sucks the most, and I'm gonna give you the shorter version of it. So what the cardiac power is, just like when we started with, I would say, cardiac output method, right, where we're just staying in that 130, 150 beats per minute range. Here we're gonna build the maximum intensity of the heart, right? And basically it builds that contractile strength. So thinking about how powerfully the heart can pump out blood, okay? So that's what we're training here. And obviously when it comes to conditioning methods, things like MMA, things like sports, where you're gonna do something for a longer period of time and your heart rate's gonna get high, right? Like we want to train them. So these intervals are 60 to 120 seconds long. So 1 to 2 minutes of maximum intensity, okay? Now, the kicker is that you're going to have full recovery, 2 to 5 minutes, and or getting your heart rate under 130, 50 beats per minute, right? So again, if you're very, very fit, it may be less than 2 minutes, and you're just watching that heart rate come down to like 125, so right about there, and then repeating. And you're gonna repeat that 4 to 12 times, somewhere around there, okay? Now, again, we'd start with a lower number, we build ourselves up. Now, this is a method that I would not recommend for most people more than 1 time a week. I would say for some high level athletes, it might be twice a week for certain periods of time, right? It's very, very taxing and it's very challenging. So I'm gonna kind of do a little bit of rev up. I'll do a minute, again, maybe even a little bit less, but just showing you like, this is all out, guys. This is all out, right? All right, let's go. All right, so I'm still a little bit out of breath, but these methods, the key is to pick the right ones for you, right? Obviously, that's usually individualized. Everybody can and should be doing the cardiac output method I showed you first. That's something you can do 2-3 days a week, no problem, right? But then other methods like the one I showed you last, the cardiac power intervals, those are once a week for most people, right? And again, then things like the threshold method for most people are gonna be once a week. And you might be saying like, hold on, how many cardio sessions a week should I be doing? The answer is, I don't know, but here's what I do know, right? For most people, we're doing 3 strength training sessions a week, 2 to 3 cardio sessions a week. 2 of those cardio sessions being lower to medium intensity. So those are things like tempo intervals, which we didn't show, the cardiac output method, explosive repeats, right? And then once a week, things that are harder. Threshold method, you know, again, power intervals, those are very, very hard. Once a week max for most people. But again, if you want to have a customized program, reach out to me. And to get more details about the methods I show, check out the copy and a short little breakdown of things that I mentioned just written out. All right, so if you want more information like this to look, feel, perform more like an athlete without nagging experience, make sure to subscribe to this channel.